Hello everyone, welcome back to the Kaleidoscope. We are a interview theory to interview the writers from the creative writing program at OCAD University. Today I have my guest Anna here, Anna Young, the third year student.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So Anna, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm in my third year of creative writing. I mainly work in prose and poetry, but I've been doing a lot of graphic novel writing recently. I say that, but it's just like I've been working on one thing, but it's really fun, so I hope I get to work on more on it in the future. I work mainly in fiction. I'm not too great at nonfiction because I hate talking about myself, which is yay, it was great for the interview. But fiction. There's always a bit of truth in fiction, so I just love fiction. I've been writing it since I was a kid. So
wow, great. So you just said that you actually don't like to talk about yourself. So I really appreciate that you came here and
anything for Cordelia. Come on.
Oh, stop! Oh, Anna, stop! Oh my God! This is great. This is like I love to hear it. But I really want to interview you because I have noticed the work that you've done. You just mentioned that your passion is prose and poetry. I remember you read this wonderful piece last year at the Pause. You have this one up there. I'm just wondering, are you okay to read that work again for us if you have it with you?
Yeah, totally. It's been a while since I've read it, so bear with me. I'd have to pull out my script or my poem.
Yeah, I should let you know earlier, but that
No,
one,
of course.
We, as writer, when we're in our program, when we're talking in class, our professors always like, don't write "I love you." No, don't write you're crying. No, write something else that is like you're not saying you love, but you actually talking and writing about love. So I think that's like the best piece I have ever heard is about love.
Thank you.
Would you please, if you're ready?
I have to calm my nerves. Okay, so this piece is called Apocalyptic Dating Sim. I wrote it specifically for Pulse, but I feel like it's probably one of my best known works now from people who know me. I left my blasphemy at the door, but got blood on your kitchen tiles. You clasped your hands over mine like a prayer, but God, you look like him or her and them. Everyone I've ever loved is a PowerPoint on your face, and my knees bruise a blossom black. I am not religious, but the way my chin juts up when I cry says that I am. And between glow-in-the-dark stars and popcorn ceiling clouds, you press a straw to my lips and mumble, drink. We'll never be lovers, but every time a bell rings, bicycle, door, alarm, I turn to look for you.
Oh. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
If there is like a topic that you always go back to when you're doing your writing?
I feel like I always have to write about love in some way in my writing. Just because I feel like I'm surrounded by so much love and I feel so much love for the people around me and for the things around me every day. I think that's a product of when I was in high school, I was such like an emo loser and I was so edgy. I was like, I hate everything. I hate everyone. No one loves me, so I don't love anyone back. And now I look back and I'm like, girl, it's not that serious. Be fucking calm. And so because I like restricted myself so much in high school to that one thing, I decided to make up for it when I started university, to just like love anything and everything, because love is such like an infinite resource. It's not just because you love one thing doesn't mean you can't love another. And I live by that. So I feel like it's such a subconscious thing for me to slip love into everything I write. And it's just like one of my main inspirations always.
So love is the internal like topic that you like to write, but how words speaks to you and help you to express your passion there?
Well,
yeah, I know you also draw, so
I'm not the best art illustrator, but
how word speaks to you at that point?
For me, speaking is a very difficult task. I feel like I always talk faster than my brain can really process. A lot of the times I don't register what I'm saying until I say it out loud and everyone hears it. So almost everything that comes out of my mouth is like a surprise. So with writing, it really lets me sit with my words and sit with all of my thoughts rather than just like the first one that comes up. Because I always just say the first thing that comes up usually. And writing just like, it's so much easier for me to articulate myself and to say what I really mean versus with speaking, it never really came easy to me, but written words always did.
You mentioned about high school. When was the first time? When was the first time you ever thought want to be a writer?
Well, I started writing like years before high school. I remember very specifically why.
Definitely 100% is a fan fiction about two boys from a boy band.
Which boy band?
Alasi. Do you know them?
I've heard some of their music, but because me too. No, me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
oh, yeah.
me too.
Oh yeah, AO3. Okay, we know.
Okay, when I was like 13 and I just discovered BTS, I would in class I would have my notebook open, but instead of taking notes, I'd be like writing fan fiction. And then when I went home, I'd type that up and then post on AO3 and Wattpad. And some of that is still up.
Oh my god, really?
It's so bad because I was 13. It was so bad, but that was like my first. when I started writing those fanfics, that was when I started taking writing like seriously. And like, because I would get comments from people being like, "Oh my god, this is so good! Like, please update." And that was the first time I was like, "Oh my god, people actually like what I'm writing. That's crazy." So I mean, yeah, it's embarrassing, but in a way, BTS fanfics paved the way for me.
You know what, Anna? Fan fiction is actually a genre. It is a genre.
I love fanfiction.
Right?
I
Like
love it.
they are great. So far, there were so many great fan fiction that they wrote. It just the worldview, the point of being alive and relationships. It's awesome. It's amazing. Like there's so many good writers who just.
I swear to God, half of what I've read on AO3 is better than what people are publishing today. Like, have you seen some of these ridiculously like stupid plots that get published? Like, especially the romance ones where you can tell it was like a fan fiction at first, and then they turn it into an original work. There was one recently where it's like he's like a golfer and she's like a ballerina or something, and like one of the like plot tags was like, "You touch her and you die." Like, girl, you're a golfer. Relax. You're not hurting anyone.
Yeah. You know, because I also have another, besides the goal, is parallel with me becoming a writer, is literary translator. I want to translate the writings from Japanese and Chinese into English. The first ever work I did for my translation is fan fiction again. Because they're just great writings.
I have so much respect for people who translate fan fictions because in my fan fiction career, I've had a lot of people like message me being like, "Hey, can I translate this to this language on this website?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can." Like, the fact that you like my work so much that you want to translate it for people
Share with
to
the
read
world, yeah,
in a different language, that's beautiful. Like, thank you.
No problem. Like this, because I just see there's more flexible. Because it's easier to reach out to fan fiction writers, right? Like you don't have to go through all the copyright things that how complicated it can be. But I agree, fan fiction. There's great writing out there. So I'm glad you still remember who is your BTS couple.
Is this a bit controversial to say? But I mean,
Who cares?
my main one was my main one was Jungkook and Jimin. I was a big Jungkook fan. Sorry if you cook shivers. Not anymore because I just fell out of them. But honestly, I still write like K-pop ship fanfics. So I can't say anything.
Keep going. Let's keep going.
Well, okay. I blew up a little bit on Tumblr. I had like 10,000 followers on Tumblr because I wrote like ship fanfics and I posted them to AO3.
Yeah.
So on my Tumblr, I would write like self-insert fanfics, like the YN fanfics. I'm not ashamed to say it. Some YN fanfics are great.
No shame.
And I would also like sometimes post like ship fanfics, mostly of NCT Dream and Stray Kids. So my stuff is still up there. So if you I'm not going to say my URL, but
no, don't.
but you might see it there.
Yeah.
It's not the best, but it's there. I wrote them when I was like 17.
See,
so.
We just talk about when we're off the camera. We just talk about, you know what, Anna? I wish I can write more. I think you definitely write way more than me. Like you were like, yeah, I should write more. No, you keep going, girl. Like this is writing, right?
It is. I think for me, what really blew me up on Tumblr was these like bullet point fanfics where it's like the headcanons, and it's a really good format to like get ideas out when you don't want to make every sentence beautiful and like make it count towards something. But the reason I stopped writing that actually is because like after a while I felt like restricted almost because it was just like idea after idea for each bullet point, and I didn't get to really expand on them too much. I felt like I was becoming stagnant as like a writer, and yeah, I was getting like likes and follows and everything, but it was so soul sucking. So I stopped, and now I only post on AO3, and I will not be sharing my AO3 user. But if you're on those tags, you'll find me.
Great. I mean, I was about to ask you, like, do you remember where it's stored? I think it's still on the internet, hey?
Yeah, I think that's the great and bad thing about growing up with the internet, because I grew up, like, I was born in 2003, so I grew up, like, on the internet.
Yeah.
I wasn't an iPad kid, thankfully, but I still grew up on the internet, and because of that, I have a lot of old, embarrassing writing that is still out there, and I could like, go back and like delete them or whatever, but I feel like I can I like looking back on that kind of stuff now.
Yeah.
I used to really cringe, but it's the fact that I can cringe because I've grown since then.
Yeah.
And it's always like fun to look back on how
It
you used
is.
to write,
Yeah.
especially because I was like 12 when that happened, and now I'm like 21. So that was a whole different girl, and
Yeah.
I look back on her fondly.
Yeah.
So
I always have this dream, like if one day I can publish like a full length of long novel, I would love to, have my previous idol in the book somewhere, and then I can like write on the front page being honored to Alice.
that is so cute.
Like to Alice or something like that. Like, because this is really the beginning of the inspirations, like how the writings, all the jewels of the fictions and stories happen, right? You mentioned about the book that you read when you were, I think you said high school, and then you start writing about it. If there's any other book that you read before as a young child?
When I was really young, I read a lot of the Treehouse books. I forgot what they're called exactly, but they have a magic treehouse or whatever, and they go on journeys together. And I think that was my first time reading fantasy. And I still love fantasy. I like fantasy a lot. But Percy Jackson was like the main one that really got me into writing. And I still, like read passages from those books, and I still like them. They hold up. Recently, I think Rick Riordan, the author of Percy Jackson, published like The Chalice of the Gods, which is just like a continuation of the main characters like grown up. And I read that, and it's great. I love it. So seeing that makes me really want to write things that I guess like withstand the test of time, which I guess like is like usually the goal anyway, but just writing things that still connect with people like decades later. That's so fun. Like the same people decades later. So I kind of went on a tangent, but no, like Percy Jackson was so beneficial for me, and it still really influences my writing today, honestly. But in my later years, literally like in 2020 or something, The Song of Achilles, I don't know if anyone has read that here, by Madeline Miller. It was a Greek myth retelling of Patroclus and Achilles, and that really changed my writing forever.
How it changed?
It was my first time reading a novel that was written in such like poetic language, and it was just so beautifully written. Not just like the story, but like down to like the sentences, like the metaphors used, and that, like at the time I read that, I had only like seen that in poetry, and I wasn't the biggest fan of poetry at the time, and I wasn't very good at writing poetry at the time. So seeing that like kind of motivated me to like just transform my writing into something pretty.
Wow. Yeah, I think I only started writing poetry when I joined this program.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big shift, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like poetry is such like a very commonly used medium or like method in the creative writing program specifically. I feel like everyone writes poetry or has like written poetry at least once for an assignment here. And I really didn't get poetry before I came to OCAD. I still don't really get it, but I do like writing it and reading it now a lot. And I think even if like you're mainly a prose writer, I think it's beneficial to read poetry because it's like a bunch of beautiful writing in a condensed method. And you get to sprinkle that out through prose. And I do that now. I do that now, and I've gotten comments on that where it's like you have these like beautiful moments, and it just makes me want to see more.
Very beautiful, very beautiful.
And I think that's like that's the appeal of prose. You get these little small, beautifully poetically written parts, and then you just want to see more of it. And I like that a lot.
Wow. So when you're writing, what is the thing that constantly always in your brain? I'll give you an example. For me, I always tell myself shorter sentence or that a lot of memories. So what about you? What is constantly in your brain when you're doing the writing?
I think the main thing that I try to keep in mind when I am writing is to invoke visceral emotions, because I feel everything viscerally, especially love. So I, I tell my boyfriend this all the time, where it's like, I love you so bad it hurts, and he's always like, why does it hurt? It shouldn't hurt, but it hurts for me because I just feel that so strongly in my chest that like I feel physical pain, and with my writing I want other people to feel that visceral pain, in a sadistic way. But I just love visceral emotions. I don't like having like normal emotions where it's like I'm slightly sad about something. Like, no, I'm devastated about something, or I'm slightly happy about this one thing. Like, no, I'm like over the moon. I want to invoke that in other people the way that I just experience every day.
Where are you at this moment? And like your writing and your writing career, like where you see you at this moment?
Right now, I feel like I'm at a bit of a standstill. I haven't been writing a lot recently because I've just been so consumed in like other things. Mainly like I'm preparing for a conference right now, and I'm making a bunch of zines for that. But even with that, I am like doing some creative writing, but it's not the writing that I'm used to or the writing that I kind of want to continue in the future. Like even with my graphic novel, I finished writing that, so we're just like kind of just like rolling out the parts to that. So I haven't been writing too much. Like I haven't been doing very much novel writing, though I do want to publish a novel, at least like by the time I graduate, either like through thesis or something like that. But right now I'm like in a limbo, but I'm also like okay with that because I used to take writing really seriously. Like it had to amount to something, it had to make me money, it had to make me famous, whatever. And now I'm just like, I just want to write for fun. So because of that mindset, I've just been like, I'm just like in the middle of things, and I'm like rolling with the punches. I'm seeing where I go. If I get published, I get published. If I don't, that sucks, but I'm gonna keep trying to get published, I guess.
We talked about like, all those sweet like changes that in your readings, in your writings and genres even. Like, what's your goal? What you want your writing to achieve? There must be a change, right? From the beginning to where you are right now.
I guess the goal always has been to be published, but that isn't as important to me anymore. I guess with my writing, really at the end of the day, I just want to have fun and do and write what I want to. Right now, I'm specifically really interested in graphic novel writing and comics and webtoons. One, because it's really fun working with an artist, especially because I'm working with my friend who's in the illustration program right now, Jessie Zhang. Her art is so beautiful, and the way she brings my writing to life is so just, it's mesmerizing. I love her so much. And I don't know. I just want to make fun things, make cool things. And that's like the goal for me, to write things that I like, instead of writing like, especially I mentioned Tumblr earlier, but the reason I stopped all of it is because I wasn't writing for me anymore. I was writing for other people to like and reblog and whatever. So I want to step away from that kind of mindset and just write what I want to. And that's my goal, I guess.
I think should be. I think writing is a very personal thing. Maybe, audience may disagree about this, but I really think writing is a very personal, private practice. It's about self-learning, about self-unlearning, and then go out and reach out the world after.
Like a reoccurring thing for my personal life that I always kind of draw on when I write is I had a really bad falling out with my old best friend. I told you earlier, but we had known each other for 10 years. I grew up with her. We lived on the same street, and then early in high school, we just stopped talking. Things just didn't work out anymore, and I write about that so much in my writing, and I've been writing about it for like over 7 years now, probably, and I cannot show you the first drafts of like the things I've written because they're so like they're not good, but they're also like so personal in a way that's like it's too much. Like some like you gotta keep some of your secrets, girl. Not everyone has to know everything, but it's because of those like drafts that I've been able to polish things and like put that kind of stuff out into the world. Because yeah, writing for me is extremely private. Like I wrote a short novel last year. I haven't published it or anything, but I literally locked myself in my room for like 3-4 months just writing that. And like I would not like I barely talked to anyone else because I was just so engrossed in it, and it was just so it consumed me, and only me, because I didn't let anyone else like in on it. But it's because of that, and because I've like been able I finished it, obviously. And because I've been able to like step away from it now, I'm only just now able to kind of like put parts of it out into the world and publish parts of it on the internet and everything. And I think it's important to have a bit of privacy, at least in the beginning of your writing process, because that's like when your true thoughts and feelings come out. So I feel like it's fine that writing is so private, at least for us.
Yeah, it's for us.
Yeah.
There's another writer that I interviewed earlier. They said their first draft is for themselves. To step away and come back. The second draft is for the audience. So you have to remove something. It's not killing or doubting. It's just like you write. You don't have to share everything. Keep some secret to ourselves, right? I don't know. Like you mentioned this, you were. You lock yourself in the room for a long time to finish this piece. Is this always what you do? Like you have particular a space, a way you do like when you're doing your writing?
Yeah, I do most of my writing when I'm like locked in my room at my desk. But recently, or at least like when I started commuting to school, I've started writing a lot on the subway. Especially when like, well, there's data on most of line 1 now, but back in my day, they only had like data like at the stations that were above ground. I didn't have anything to do, and like I can only play Candy Crush for so long. So because of that, I just started writing a lot on the subway trip to class and from class. So I've collected one more location for me that I can just like write, because like the subway, even though like you're surrounded by people, you're not interacting with anyone. You're not talking to anyone. My headphones are on. Like I'm not listening to anyone. Not even when they have like the subway service alerts. Like I don't care. Like I'm on my phone, headphones on, listening to music, and I'm just writing whatever I want. And that's probably when I've been writing the most. And then I go home and then develop those ideas when I'm locked in my room. But yeah.
I see. I see there's you have to have a space for yourself, no matter it's a physical space or mental space, but you have to be there by yourself and then to let it flow, right? I can totally relate. The past winter, I went back to Asia, visit my families, right? I couldn't write when I was there because I always surrounded by my families, no matter which city that I went. And the moment that I jump on the airplane back to Toronto, on the plane, I was writing. I realized, even though there's such a huge racial like escalations, like things happening here, but that's actually benefit me that I'm writing, constantly writing all the time, not being bothered because no one is looking at me. I'm invisible. I'm not there. No one is particularly looking for me. So I can always write. I can be there, be someone as an audience looking, watching, and then create that small space for myself and then write. Sad but good at the same time. I see the beautifulness out of it. So when you do the writing, Anna, like when was the moment that you know that you're ready, like you done? Because sometimes we just like, we need to write more. But what's your moment? You're like, okay, I'm done with this draft at least.
It's difficult to say. I feel like for me, a really bad habit is that I always rush into my endings because I'm always really excited to finish writing. That's my favorite part, obviously, because I like that I get to share it afterwards, like on AO3 or something, or like with my friends, and like get feedback. I think getting feedback is always like very fun, mostly when it's like nice feedback. But I don't know. I've always been very intuitive with my endings. I never really have like a conscious idea of when to stop. It's when it's like when it feels right. Lately, I've been doing that in consideration of my characters in a weird way, as if like they're like real people. In my recent novel that I wrote last year, I was gonna end it when the two main characters like went separate ways, and I sat on that for like a couple weeks, and I was like, yeah, I'm finished. Like this is it. But I just kept thinking about those characters and like as if like they're like my children. Like they deserve a happy ending. They deserve something more. So I think for me, I really consider my characters when I decide when to end. I just because I love my characters, I don't want them to be unhappy. I put them through unhappy things. I traumatize them a little bit, but you know, have a little happy ending. So I always like having like a optimistic ending. I guess that's like when I usually when things are starting to look up again after like a decline. That's when I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Wow. Do you listen to music when you write?
I have to. I have to listen to music when I write.
Oh, do you have like a set playlist or you just have like random
I
shuffle?
I usually make playlists
Okay.
for when I write, because I need to be in a certain mood to write things. I know that like some people are like writer's block doesn't exist. Like you just need to write through it,
No.
but I can't do that shit. So a way for me to kind of get in the mindset of what I'm writing and like get through writer's block is to like make that playlist of like songs that give off similar vibes. And then sometimes I'll like just have like one song on loop. Like recently I was listening to Snow by Ricky Montgomery. I love Ricky Montgomery. And Snow is just like such a devastating, beautiful song. And I usually get very attached to certain lyrics and songs, and that's what sparks my inspiration for these stories. And in that song, there's one that goes, I'll always be that short little gloat, like clearing his throat with always having something to say. And hearing that lyric, I was like, that's just my main character in this graphic novel. So I had to listen to this on repeat for 20 hours straight so I can write this piece.
Wow. So do you have actually a pattern of your creativities? Like, you know, you may feel better in the morning, better at night, or the first thing you wake up is to write, like something like that.
I am very much like, I'm not a night owl, but I'm a lot more productive at night, not just like with writing, but with like everything. So I feel like my best writing always comes like past midnight. So which is like awful for my sleep schedule, also awful for my mental health because like if I don't sleep enough, I like lose my mind.
Yeah.
But that's just like when I've written my best things. And also I feel like when I write, when I write, I lose track of time, which is like such a cliche thing, but it's true.
No, it's true.
I lose track of time, and I end up like not wanting to stop writing. So I always find myself like writing to like 3 a.m., especially like if I don't have class or anything. I just write like very late into the night, and that's like when I write the best.
Amazing. So how do you do with your draft? Like, are you the person that you write them all out first and then go back to editing them? Or you are like, I read this session, revise a little bit, going next session. So what kind of is your style?
I don't know if you remember from like like our first class with Lillian. We were in the same class, but like it was like some beginner class with Lillian, and she was like, "You shouldn't edit while you write because that hinders your creativity."
Yeah, that's the answer.
And to an extent, I agree, but I can't help but edit while I write. I get to edit again through them, and that's what I prefer.
Who are your first readers?
Well, because like writing was like an outlet for me to not only get my emotions out,
Yeah.
but also to like be someone else.